2.5 miles long and 50 feet wide. 2 weeks ago, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway hardly seemed big enough for all the brazen young talent it contained. This open-wheel behemoth event teamed with daredevil moves and all-or-nothing attitudes. Get out of my way. Buddy Rice of Ray Hall Letterman Racing owned the Brickyard. From pole day to the checkered flag, from dark horse to dominator, this American bad boy performed flawlessly throughout the month of May and relished in the spoils of victory. But to call the 500 the crescendo of this still young IRL season would be unfair. If Indianapolis is the summit, then Texas is its twin peak. Blindingly fast. No other track on the circuit has provided as many hair-raising passes, wheel-to-wheel battles, and paper-thin margins of victory. The season is still very green, Andretti green, as is the points battle. And look to Hornish and Rice to see who's the IRL's favorite All-American boy, while an American legend looks to defend his Texas title. Under the lights, this Lone Star stage will shine brighter than ever, and no single inch will be taken for granted. They're inches away at 214 miles an hour.
I don't know how this is going to work.
Welcome to the Lone Star State of Texas, where they do things big, and there's a big crowd, nearly 90,000, right now moving into Texas Motor Speedway for round 5 of the IRL Indycar Series, the Bombardier 500. And we welcome you to our Firestone pre-race show. I'm Paul Page, and right behind me is the beautiful Speedway Club. It rises 9 stories above turn 1 here at this track and is a great vista for the race itself. This place and this race is very special because the Indy 500 is now over and all of the tensions associated with that are gone. Now we begin the climb to the championship, which, while it starts here, will also end here in October. But for the moment, the focus is still on the champion of the Indianapolis 500, Buddy Rice. Here's Jackaroo.
And henceforth, this driver will be introduced not as Buddy Rice, but Indy 500 winner Buddy Rice. But it's been a wild couple of weeks for you, but I want to go back to the race itself because you made some incredible moves and it ended in a fantastic celebration in Victory Lane.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple moves that might have been, a little risky, but at the time we needed to take it. The guys that were in front of me were very competitive, and it's hard, it's difficult to get by. So any opportunity you get, you need to do that. So we're real happy with the way everything's going right now, and we're looking good here at Texas for the Argent Pioneer car. And once again, the Hondas are all up front with the Panos G-Force.
Some say that once you've tasted the milk at Indianapolis's Victory Lane, your mindset changes. This is the next race after that opportunity for you. What do you think?
My mindset hasn't changed. I'm on the front row again, and we're looking for plenty more.
Jerry, some of that more is going to come tonight.
Thanks, Jack. No one could argue with the success of the Andretti Green team early on this year. In fact, these guys here, Dan Weldon and Tony Kanaan, sit 1-2 in the IRL Series point standings. They rank 1-2 in terms of laps led. And with wins at Motegi and Phoenix, they've won exactly half the events thus far this year. And Dan Weldon, as the points leader, though, mired back in the middle of the pack at the start of this race. How aggressive can you afford to play?
Well, obviously, at this race, you just got to take your time and be patient and try and come through as best you can. I mean, I got Tony's going to be up front. Well, actually, all 3 of my teammates are going to be up front, and they're going to be a strong factor all day. So I feel kind of left out, so I need to get with them because then I feel safe when I'm with those guys.
So you don't tiptoe, you light the fires and attack when the green waves?
Who knows? You'll have to wait and see. You have to wait and see. But remember, I got 3 of the best teammates to learn from, and I've learned from them in the past. So I'm giving you a hint, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you.
Let's get over here to Tony Kanaan. Tony, what is it about this place and this night race at Texas that makes it such a thriller for the fans and makes it so difficult for the drivers, a nail-biter?
Well, I think the type of track, is just banked and everything, and the race is being so close that you can get, the right car or completely wrong. And so it's just the weather changing. We test during the day, and you get to race at night. So it's so many factors that, unfortunately, you can't control that. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen.
Well, these guys have gotten a lot of exposure this year, but their teammate has stolen the headlines this weekend. Dario Franchitti standing by with our Jamie Little.
Well, Jerry, he's just coming off the front row start at Indianapolis. Now he just put it on the pole here in Texas for his first ever pole in the IRL Series. Dario, first time to Texas. How do you prepare yourself for a first-time race like this?
Well, you watch the races from the years past. I got to watch both races here last year in the stands, as it were, actually in pit lane. Talk to my teammates. I'm hoping they're not steering me wrong, but my teammates have really been helpful. Tony in particular, we went through a lot of stuff, and also Brian. And to be fair, Dan as well, they really have been good. So hopefully we'll be in good shape.
Obviously, you had the best time. You were the man to beat on qualifying day. How do you think your time will translate during the race tonight?
The car's a bit different than it was in qualifying. Hopefully we can run up front. We've tried to make the car a bit better in traffic. We struggled the first session of yesterday, but I think we've made the right changes. We made some changes that Brian suggested, that Herta suggested, so hopefully they're going to work for us.
All right, well, best of luck. And from a first-timer, we go upstairs to a two-time winner, Scott Goodyear. He's along with the most recent winner of Texas, Gilles de Ferran.
Thank you, Jamie. And we're here with a recently retired Gilles de Ferran. And you know, Gilles, this track is about a love-hate relationship because as drivers, we love coming here. 200 miles an hour average, over 200 laps, racing at the high banks, 24 degrees, underneath the lights. It's thrilling, but it has its downside.
Oh, for sure, Scott. This is life on the edge. You're running so close to everyone, inches apart, every second of the race. You cannot let up on your attention any little bit. I mean, you got to be aware of where everyone is. You got to be very disciplined with your driving. It's very, very difficult.
You know, we talk about that wheel-to-wheel racing, and I got a chuckle out of you the other day because when I retired, I remember that I was actually looking from the suites like we were the other day, and I was looking at that going, I can't believe that I used to do that. Your facial expressions the other day are looking down like that and going, whoa, look how close they're going. You did the same thing.
I tell you, I have to say, I was scared. When you're in the car, all you want to know about is you want to get to the front, you want to try to win this race. And you playing strategy, you're thinking about how to pass somebody and go faster. You're not really thinking about consequences and so on and so forth. But when I was out there and thinking, wow, this is scary and extreme stuff, and it was an unbelievable feeling.
Well, this is an ironclad guarantee because I know neither one of us is going to get back in the car. But it's going to be a great race. Let's find out what Paul Page is doing.
Hey guys, I used to think that the broadcast booth was the neatest seat in the house. I found one better. Take a look at this. It's a giant broadcast booth with food and drink and everything and a lot of great people. This is the Speedway Club at Texas Motor Speedway. It's high above turn number 1. They got a great view, great food. They're having a great time. I may just have to watch from here. When we return to our coverage here at Texas Motor Speedway, we'll take a look at Buddy Rice's whirlwind 2 weeks since he won the 88th running of the Indianapolis 500. And speaking of Honda, what a year they're having. Consider the Indianapolis 500 alone in their finishing positions. At Honda, it's a company tradition that whenever they win, all of the employees around the world get cake and ice cream. This year, they're worried a little bit about getting fat. Welcome. I've finally made it back down to the broadcast booth. I got to tell you, there's some very cool places in this speedway. We're ready to go racing, and we're talking about Honda and the great job they've done.
You know, I thought you were going to end up at the suite up there for the whole evening, actually. I'm glad to see you joined us. But I'll tell you, the Honda engine program right now has been so strong. You think about a year ago, everything was Toyota. Right now, everything is Honda. And if you drive a Honda-powered car, I'd have to say you're a pretty happy driver right now, Joe.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing I remember about Honda is not so much the cake and the ice cream, guys, I got to admit, but it's that they are relentless. And I think now they are, you know, taking the benefit out of the hard work. I mean, they really work hard at it, and now they do have the best engine.
And we're talking, though, such tiny increments as the crowd cheers, as the field is getting ready to go out there. Let's consider Buddy Rice once again. 2 weeks ago, he won the Indianapolis 500, and then his life changed. Buddy made all of the famous New York stops. With Regis and Kelly, hosted by Jeff Gordon, he showed Kelly how to get in the car.
Oh, that's embarrassing now.
You got to slide sideways through there.
Now, buddy, do I have to keep my hands at 10 and 2?
He was on all the news programs, telling them how it feels to win Indy about 1,000 times. The best moment for this former baseball player may have been at Yankee Stadium, or perhaps when he went on the Letterman show and gave his owner a helmet like he wore at Indy.
Oh,
This is a helmet that, just like what we wore at the Speedway.
Can I get this? The question is, if I put this on, will I be able to get it off?
Oh, yeah. Come on, take your glasses off.
Are you sure? Is this some kind of joke you're playing on?
No, I take your glasses off.
What size is this?
Oh, big enough for you.
Okay.
So that's been Buddy Rice's life the past couple of weeks. When you won the Indy 500, Joe DeFerrin, can you be prepared for what happens then?
I tell you what, Paul, I was just watching that. There's no way you can prepare yourself for that. There's a lot of stuff. You go to New York, you go to LA, you don't sleep very much, you know, and you got everybody in the world telling you you did a great job and so on, and you feel in cloud nine. But somehow you have to try to forget about all that to try to get back in the racing car here.
Talking about Buddy Rice, when you consider it, as you see him sitting there ready to pull out, the reason that he ended up in that car, and we always are careful with this kind of visual, but was an accident that happened here in the fall race last year. It happened to Kenny Breck, who was assigned to the car on the backstretch going into turn 3, and it was devastating. The good news is that Kenny Breck is okay. He's recovering. He's driven a race car, and they expect to see him back in a race car before this year is over. And so since then, here at the track, they've done a lot of work.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is scary stuff out there. But, you know, in the end of the day, this is unfortunately what we do. And it's life of an IndyCar driver. It's life on the edge. There is a lot of risks, but there is a lot of rewards. But they did do a lot of work here on the racetrack, including the safer barriers and a lot of other stuff that they did.
$1.7 million worth of work. Now, you won the race here once.
Yeah.
You won it twice. You did both of those for Panther, and Panther has an extraordinary record here.
They certainly do, you know, and even with Sam Hornish, they won twice. 4 records they have here for winning. And when you think about it, this is a team with pressure on them right now, Paul. Pennzoil is just down the road in Houston, Texas. They've not had a great season so far. Both cars are further back in this championship than they've ever been before. And I would say if there's a team out right there now with pressure on them, it has to be for those guys from a driver's standpoint and also from a team standpoint.
Well, we're getting close to the start now. We hope you've enjoyed your time with our Firestone pre-race show, and we thank Firestone, as always, for their participation in the series. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the side-by-side racing, how close it is, how tight it is, and in many ways, how scary but rewarding it can be. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, a flight of A-10s from the U.S. Air Force at Barksdale Air Force Base over in Louisiana. Beautiful sight as the sun begins now to set on Texas Motor Speedway, and we're ready to go racing in a good part of this race under the lights, that magnificent system that they have here. And this race always produces close finishes, as we've mentioned. 5 of the top 11 closest in the IRL, which will celebrate its 100th race in the middle of the season this year, have occurred right here. They're beginning to roll now. Al Unser Jr. How's that tight enough for you? How about Sharpie? Sam Hornish. Oh, yeah. Jeff Ward, great night race. We're hoping for that again this evening. As that sun continues to fall in the sky, the cars circle around this track, ready to go. Let's take a look now at the Bombardier starting grid. On the pole, Franchitti, his first pole, 3rd of the season for Andretti Green. And Buddy Rice coming off that Indy 500 win. Row 2, Tony Kanaan. He was the Phoenix winner this year, 2nd here 2 years ago. And Kosuke Matsura, who is the highest finishing rookie in all 4 races this year. Back in row 3, there's Brian Herta, finished 5th in both of his previous races at Texas. And Helio Castroneves, who has finished 9th or better in every race this season. Inside row 4 is Ed Carpenter, his best ever starting position, and the fastest Chevy in the field. Thomas Scheckter driving for the team that won 4 of the last 10 races here. Adrian Fernandez is inside 5, the open wheel veteran, his first race here. And Mark Taylor, his speed put all 3 rookies in the top 10. Sam Hornet, 2-time Texas winner. And Dan Weldon, the current points leader in the IRL Indycar Series. Vitor Mira, his best career finish came here in September of '02 when he was 3rd. And Darren Manning, who's had a 4th, 5th, and 6th place finish before an accident at Indy. Greg Ray, the only driver who have started every IRL race at Texas. And Scott Dixon, the defending series champion. Inside of row 9, there's A.J. Foyt IV. Anthony returning to his home state. And Tor Takagi, his best career finish of 3rd, came here a year ago. Row 10, Felipe Giafone, the new driver of the number 24 car. And Al Hunter Jr. returning to the site of his last win a year ago. Scott Sharp, a 2-time Texas winner. And on the outside, Alex Barron, an oil leak prevented him from qualifying. The Chevrolet pace car. Johnny Rutherford at the wheel of that. Official pace car here, the Bombardier 500. Chevrolet, the American Revolution. The key here, of course, is the pit window, because this is going to be a very tactical race. A lot of strategy here. Field nicely set up. Always beautiful to see them come down. Pace car makes its move for the inside. What lies in store at Texas? We're green.
A really good start here by Dario Franchitti, who really got the jump together with Tony down on the inside of turn 1.
Dario Franchitti leads Kanaan down the backstretch. Buddy Rice drops into 3rd. Matsura slots in there. Brian Herta in that black and orange car is now on the move, trying to come forward.
You see a little bit of shadowing in turns 3 and 4. The sun's starting to set right now. These guys will be battling with the sun just a little bit for the first part of this race as it starts to set off in the distance.
Well, I actually had a lot of trouble with the sun here, Scott. When you get in the middle of turn 3, you can't really see very much until you go in the dark and your eyes get used to it again.
Buddy Rice goes alongside Tony Kanaan. They chase Dario Franchitti, leading an IRL race for only the 2nd time in his career. Whoa, they get nice in there and close. Let's go on board with Buddy Rice. Those sparks, that's from the bump.
Well, there's a big bump there in the middle of 1 and 2. And especially right now where the tire pressures are not very high, the cars really bottoms. They're full of fuel. It's a tough situation. Always the rear tends to move around a little bit at that point.
You hear the spotter for Buddy Rice letting them know exactly what's going on, and also Kanaan, both those spotters, and relaying to the drivers exactly where other cars are on the racetrack.
Group heads down the backstretch once again. Franchitti, Kanaan, Rice, Matsura. Then a little bit of a space, and Herta and Castroneves battle side by side. Schechter's coming into that. We're on board with Scheckter.
Now there's a big wind difference here, guys. There's a headwind going into turn 1 where they are right now, the turn 1-2 complex, a tailwind as you see some sparks coming off from the car in front as the car bottoms out.
Got one closing, got one up behind you. He's going to come outside. He's going to come outside. He's going to try 3 wide, 3 wide, 3 wide.
There's that sun that we were talking about.
Still got one inside a little bit. Still got one inside.
That one inside is Ed Carpenter trying to get down on the inside.
Watch the right hand of Scheckter right here. He's actually changing gears because he's running in the draft, and also that tailwind we talked about.
Boy, Carpenter is on the move as he just goes by Helio Castroneves. Our back Hornish, take a looking back to Hornish now.
You can see Hornish trying to work the outside of Scheckter, and he's one guy that can run really high.
Hornish now behind Scheckter. Castroneves just in front of him. Weldon and Mira both on the move with that gang as well. Weldon, the number 26 car, red and white. Mira, that number 17. Look at this. Oh, yeah.
You know, we talk about Hornish being high as we see Scheckter going up real high. They thought this was 2 lanes wide here, but these guys are about ready to do this 3 abreast.
Matsura is able to get himself up into 3rd place now. That dropped Buddy Rice back to 4th.
Still inside, still there, still inside, still there, still there, still there.
Sometimes it's a difficult situation that a driver finds itself. You think you got the speed, there's nowhere you can go. You know, like for example, Rice has got a lot of speed, but he can't go inside, he can't go outside because he's kind of boxed in there.
Kosuke Matsura sitting high in the 55 car. That's Kanaan just
Look
ahead.
outside.
Just
Look
parked for us.
outside.
Now, when they actually get side by side, it slows them down.
Absolutely. Cars are going to run faster in line because of that drafting effect. The car in front's going to poke a hole in the air for the car behind, and they talk about that all the time. Single file is faster, but these guys right now are getting used to the track, feeling how the car is working. They got some adjustments inside the car with the roll bar adjustments and the weight jacker, which makes the car handle and work different. They're trying to figure out how the car is working on this first fuel load.
Jill, we've been talking about how tactical this race is. We talked about it all day. We mentioned it a little bit in the Firestone pre-race show, but you got to figure out where to be every second, and it doesn't necessarily have to be at the front.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, the guys that are not leading the train, the guys in the middle of the pack there, they are saving a lot of fuel. And what I'm seeing there is Rice really feeling that he's got a lot of speed, and he's trying to make past the 2 green cars because he feels like he can lead, it looks to me.
Let's go down to the pitch, Jackaroo.
Gilles de Ferran, you're absolutely correct. Buddy Rice would like to be out front. At this point in time, they're not at all concerned about fuel consumption. But trying to look at it from an aspect of whether the glass is half empty or half full, Scott Remke, who calls the shots, just told me, well, at least we're able to feel out 2 of the guys that we may have to race for the win.
Big Bud. Buddy Rice's dad. Remember, NHRA is on with us this weekend as well, and he started in drag racing, and he actually got Buddy first involved by taking him to drag races.
Now watch Hornish's car that we're looking right there, the red and white Marlboro car. We've got some reports that he's not necessarily happy with his car. We saw him running very high, very wide, getting close to the wall quite a few times coming out of turn 2, so let's keep an eye on that.
Well, and think of how devastating further problems would be for him. He had that incident both at Phoenix and then again at the Indianapolis 500. Alex Barron absolutely on the move. He's up to 15th. He's passed 7 cars as we take a look at the top 5 in the Bombardier 500. Back at Texas, Franchitti is still leading, but it seems like Buddy Rice is going to have something to say about that. He's been working him very hard. Back in 3rd place is Tony Kanaan, and Kosuke Matsura is 4th. Jerry Punch?
And guys, Dario Franchitti's strategy early on, remember, he's never raced here before, but Tony Kanaan told him, said, if you can lead comfortably, that's the best place to be. Get out front, but don't punish the car. You can get back and ride in the draft. The key, Dario, he said, is to stay in the lead draft all night long. If you don't want to lead, you don't have to, but if you do, I'll follow you as best I can.
And if you've been watching the speed, then they've been laying laps down at 205, 206 miles an hour consistently.
Actually, the fastest lap so far, if you can believe, this has been Mira at 211. So obviously running a bit further back in the pack, getting the benefit of that draft. Jill, as we know, they poke a hole in the air up front. Boy, it makes your car go real fast, but sometimes you can't do anything with it.
Well, there's nowhere he can go. I mean, there's sometimes the track is blocked in front of you, and you have to lift in the middle of the straight. And what is interesting is a couple laps ago, Buddy was definitely trying to make it past Dario. He went side by side with Dario for a couple of laps, and he started running a little bit slower, about 204, and now he decided that it's better tucked in behind the Dario. And now you see Tony decided to put a move on Buddy.
Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 champion, is battling with the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, Kosuke Matsura, for 3rd place on this track as Tony Kanaan jumps up high, gets his nose ahead of the leader, Dario Franchitti, and Kanaan has him.
Yeah, I think what you see there, Tony decided that he's got more speed, so he went for the pass. He's going to try to lead the field, see what kind of speed that they run at right now.
Alex Barron sitting back right now in 13th. He's got Weldon and Manning up there, but the 51 car of Barron, he's made some great moves starting 22nd, and bringing that Red Bull machine up to 13.
Still there, still outside. Good job, good run. Go with Adrian.
Look at this here.
Whoa.
Whoa, teammates too, so close. You know, you get those cars side by side and they just move around a fair amount. The guy in the bottom starts to go up a little bit. The guy in the top side right now has to make sure that he keeps in line and does not crowd the guy in the bottom.
Inside.
They continue. 207 miles an hour last time around, and they're all tightly together.
No, he's still inside, still inside.
Scheckter is 10th.
See, let's off
And
in
the
the
caution
middle.
comes on.
Gonna have a yellow.
Caution comes on.
Inside, we got a yellow.
And we don't have any incident out there. So we'll wait for race control to let us know the reason for this yellow. But my guess is the way people have been moving on one another that there could be some tiny pieces of debris. Let's look at this. This may be the reason here.
See, Carpenter's actually
Whoa,
Barron on 51, not Carpenter. Barron is sliding up the racetrack. And look at this left front wing right now. That is bent. So a pit stop's going to happen very shortly so we can actually get that changed on Manning's car.
Yeah, but the yellow's going to work for him.
I'll tell you, he was lucky. That was the only thing that happened was the front wing there. And this is the kind of thing that can happen when you're running so close. I mean, anything and boom, there you go. But, you know, that may not be too bad for him now. He's going to come in, probably change the front nose cone and be back out there on the racetrack.
Now we're at the 26th lap for this first caution, so logically everybody's going to come in, except somebody may want to stay out for a change of the strategy or a little TV time.
Well, right now, I think, Paul, if you're gonna have a chance of making this maybe in 2 stops with a little bit of yellow coming in to help your fuel mileage, you're going to take advantage of this. Remember, if you pit underneath a green condition, the pace is so fast that you're going to end up losing a lap. And right now, the leaders are in, and everybody's going to end up coming in for service.
Led in by Tony Kanaan, then Franchitti, then Rice, then Mira. Jack Arute.
60-mile-an-hour speed limit adhered to by Tony Kanaan. He hits his marks. Now there'll be 30 gallons of methanol. Kim Green tells me no changes for Tony Kanaan. Let's check in with Jamie. Oh, problem with the vent hose. Costing Tony Kanaan about 2 seconds. Jamie?
They did a half turn of the front wing, new tires, and topped off the fuel, guys.
Well, that really cost Kanaan. Dropped him way back. Jack Arute, are you still on board with us?
Yes, I am, Paul.
There's the work on Manning's car. Jack, exactly what happened there?
Well, the vent hose has a handle on it, and it's the top hose that goes in to vent the 30 gallons of methanol going in. That hose got hung up. They were not able to extract it from the fuel tank, and it cost them, by my calculations, about 1.5 seconds, as much as 2 seconds. That's almost 200 yards out on the racetrack, guys.
And, of course, Kanaan coming out with his issues, and Franchitti getting a really blistering fast pit stop. The order changes up, and you can see Franchitti up there at the front once again. And you're on board with the Indy champion, Buddy Rice. Racing's newest millionaire. So at Texas, we're underway. First caution, we're averaging 206.
Tony Kanaan's vent man Kevin Fox trying to reinstall the methanol that was not used back into the tank here at pit side. But when we take a look at what happened, let's see if Kevin can tell us. Kevin, it got hung up there. What was the problem?
It just got stuck in the vent. I don't know if it got caught coming out or what.
A costly mistake, Paul.
Kevin and Brooke, they're a veteran team. Look at this guy.
Key thing, the vent hose they're talking about is right up top there. Now watch when they go to release it and pull it out right now. It's stuck. It does not come out. Quite a few seconds go by.
On the exit to the pit road, here comes Franchitti. There's Rice, and there's Kanaan, and there's Mira. So getting ready to go green once again. Manning with a new nose, dropped him to 21st.
Green flag, green flag.
It looks like another good restart by Franchitti. it turned out that whole thing wasn't that costly to Tony. He's second place right now, and before the pit stop, he was able to make it by Franchitti. Let's see what he can do now.
Well, right now, Tony Kanaan in pursuit of his teammate at Andretti Green Racing, Dario Franchitti. Franchitti, of course, the pole sitter, the first of his career, his first time at this track.
And that's always a big thing. You come here, it's the first time underneath the lights. Very difficult racetrack once the sun starts to go down and the lights start to shine on you.
Berta and Castroneves. Now with the full load of fuels, we'll begin to see the full load of methanol fuel. We'll begin to see the sparks again, especially in turn 2.
Well, I tell you, that was a really close call there that Sam Hornish had in the middle of the straight. He was trying to go between the two guys there, and they almost closed up on him. Here's Tony trying to make it by Franchitti again.
Front of the field, Tony's going to go to the high groove again. Buddy Rice tucks in behind him.
You see those sparks coming out from that big bump in turns 1 and 2. That's where the tunnel is, the access tunnel to get into the track. Here goes Rice.
Look at Rice as he comes down, pokes his nose into the inside, drops back. Has to be careful not to lose momentum because Vitor Mir is sitting right there.
Vitor's outside. Vitor's outside. Outside.
He absolutely did, Paul. Good, great call because he got out of it. Remember, these 3-liter engines don't have the horsepower or the torque to keep the speed up.
Kanaan Franchitti continues side by side. This got to be Schechter's on the pit road.
Almost up with the steering. Steering's loose, and then the
And here's the reason why. Whoa. Okay. That's going to require some repair.
Watch right there.
Yeah. Oh.
Good thing that Schechter didn't end up into the wall.
That's maybe the most dangerous thing that can happen in open wheel racing right there.
I tell you, that was a scary one. You know, it took a lot of skill and car control, both on Thomas and Scott's behalf, not to make that turn into a complete disaster. But obviously, Thomas had some damage to the steering wheel there because he came into the pits. But that was a hard-stopping moment, I think.
You know, we talked about earlier on the pressure going on Panther right now with the Pennzoil car because Pennzoil's just down the road. Maybe a move on the outside was a little costly for Thomas.
Schechter back rolling already. You saw that. Here's the battle for the lead. In fact, for the first 8 positions as it continues. Scott Sharp, who didn't have the greatest of qualifying here, has been the quickest the last couple laps at better than 208 miles an hour. And the caution comes out once again. And, oh no, it's Anthony, A.J. Foyt the fourth. Little skids now that the cards ride on, which is why we're seeing all the sparks, which we haven't seen that kind of display of pyrotechnics before.
Well, what happens as well when you lose both front wheels, you actually lose the brakes. That's why he can't stop the rear wheels turning as well. So at that moment, you're just a passenger. You got no brakes on the car. You got no steering wheel, and the car will go whatever it will go.
A lot of bad luck for this team. You think about the first 2 cars out at Indianapolis just a couple of weeks ago. Really a hometown track for Foyt. Big disappointment, I'm sure.
You saw his hand move up to open his visor, and the safety team, of course, right there, including a physician. So they've got everything they need, and they have it right away. And there's Granddad. Grand champion A.J. Foyt, 67 wins in his career, 4 times at the Indianapolis 500. Jack Harut.
Well, at the Indianapolis 500, Grandpa wasn't very happy with Anthony Joseph Foyt IV, but that is not the case tonight. Grandpa just radioed to his grandson, Anthony, don't worry about it. I'm really proud of you. You did a hell of a job.
Now, there we go. There's the good news. Anthony is going to climb out of the car. On the left there, that's Dr. Henry Bach. Been with the league right from its inception and at the Speedway for a long time. Top emergency medical physician. Here it is.
Well, I think what it looked like to me was one of the Cheever. He got very close to one of the Cheever cars and couldn't get out of his way. It touched his right rear, and then obviously straight into the wall.
So with the incident involving Anthony Foyt, we're in our second caution period, 39 laps complete, and Tony Kanaan on point. Well, as they put Anthony Foyt's car on the hook, we've got a little better understanding of what happened to him as he was coming through the turn 3 and 4 complex. You'll see the two Red Bull Cheever cars, and then you see Scott Sharp up there on the outside. Now, Anthony Foyt's coming along behind all of this.
And right now, what's going to end up happening is Carpenter, that we're going to circle right here, has had to move up because he came across Barron too quickly and ends up taking the lane that Anthony Foyt wanted. He had nowhere to go. You can see his left front wheel is already off because of the contact with Carpenter's car. The right front wheel comes off from the impact on the wall.
Unfortunately, we saw him climb out of the car, and that's good news for Grandpa, isn't it, Jamie?
It's definitely good news for Grandpa, but this is the second race in a row that you guys are the first out. But what happened? This is different circumstances here, AJ.
It looked like it's just one of them things. You run so fast. He was driving a hell of a race. Yesterday he practiced good and really using his head, but when a car, you run over 200, another car shoots right up in front of you, he had nowhere to go, and it's a damn shame what happened. But one thing about it, he'll get his breaks, and they'll be dealing with him before the year's over with. It's a shame, but he's young, he's eager, and that wasn't his fault at all. I think if you see the replay, it was just one of them racing accidents, and you got to take the good with the bad. Sooner or later, turn around, and I've had them days myself, but as long as the good starts off setting the bad, we're very happy. And he showed he can drive a race car.
All right, AJ. We're going to head over to Jack.
Well, Jamie, we saw the replay of Thomas Scheckter and Scott Dixon coming together. Here's what happens to the wheels when you have that type of a collision at 200 miles an hour. But the team, Target Chip Ganassi, is using some new software this weekend to project when the cautions may come out. This was the run, having examined the previous races in years past. They are also running it in real time, kind of an artificial intelligence. But here's what I find interesting, guys. When you look over here around lap 40, there is the second highest probability throughout the course of the race, Jerry Punch, for a caution to come out.
And talk about getting a break. Now, Darren Manning, when he and Barron got together in the very first yellow, let me show you what happened to Manning's front nose piece here. He came down pit road. This is the left front wing. They basically sheared away from that light contact with Barron. They came down pit road, changed the entire nose piece in 15.8 seconds. He went back out, came back in, changed 4 tires. He is still on the lead lap. Good work by the Target team, but a near miss here for Darren Manning. Guys?
Well, don't forget that last season, the defending NHRA Powerade Top Fuel champion Larry Dixon became the first driver in NHRA history to win 3 consecutive years at the history-rich National Trail Raceway outside of Columbus, Ohio. They're going to be going at it again this weekend, and of course, the coverage comes on ESPN2. Join the gang. It's hot. Well, back at Texas, we went green for just 2 laps, and then this is live. This is Ed Carpenter.
Paul, it makes you wonder if there is some damage done to his car upon that impact. You know, we talked about the contact on the right rear, and all of a sudden that came out of turn 3 and 4. He was by himself and ended up hitting the wall.
That's an oil fire. They'll get it out right away. There's no danger of that spreading. But Ed Carpenter with some pretty heavy contact to the wall.
Well, I tell you, that was definitely a big one. I mean, it's good to see that he got the steering wheel out, so he's definitely conscious. And I'm looking forward to see what happened there. Yeah, he's fine. You can tell he's fine. He's walking.
They actually went green. Listen to that crowd. They went green for really about a lap and 3/4, and just as we were coming back, yellow flashed on with this situation with Ed Carpenter. Of course, we're going to search through the tapes and try to figure out exactly what happened, but it gives Tony Kanaan a continued leading position, followed by Franchitti, Rice, Mira, and Matsura. Bombardier 500. Let's go back and see if we can figure out now exactly what happened when Ed Carpenter got up into the wall in the Red Bull number 52.
Well, as we come into that shot there, he has already hit the wall on the right side, and he's actually missed what we call the safer barrier, which is actually only in the turns, the steel and foam energy reducing barrier that they've actually put up in both of these turns on both ends. Actually, he did impact it. He impacted it way back. And we talked about losing the brakes once you've actually lost some of the wheels off the car. So he did impact that safer barrier that's actually up in the wall and helps reduce the G's that the driver sees upon impact.
Of course, neither one of those give you a really great idea of exactly how they got up to the wall. We're going to go back and take a look at a couple of other options, see if we can tell what actually caused Ed Carpenter to get up there.
See, he's already up into the gray area. It started way back over here. He's up in the gray area. You want to be down in the black area in the groove. And this is all this dirty air. The marbles are all up there, that dirty area up there, and he's already in that, so he gets less contact. But we don't know quite if the right rear suspension maybe had been broken from the contact that was earlier. And interesting to note, Paul, they've got a new system on the car this year. It's actually down here, right on the side pod, right in this area where you see the workman's knee. When they come up to the car, there's a little box there with a red light and a green light. If it's over 50 G's on impact, the red light will illuminate, and it can tell them how serious the crash is for the driver.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the whole technology of the thing, just stuff like the chart that Jack showed us. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Well, it's going to be a bit of a cleanup now because, as you can see, that came right across at the start-finish line, and they'll get Ed Carpenter in and give him a cursory check, but you saw that he appeared to be just fine. Another driver involved in incident, of course, was Anthony Foyt. Jamie Little?
Well, the good news is he's out and everything's fine. I'm a bit frustrated, I'm sure, but Anthony, your grandfather said you had one great race going, but what happened?
Yeah, had a great race going, but it was just getting going. That's the problem. And just cars checked up in front, and I was on the outside, and then the car dove to the outside because they were checking up, and I was right there, and it hit my left front and shoved me up to the wall. So just bad luck, and hopefully one day our luck is going to change. And the Conseco team gave me a great car, and we're out there just riding with the pack and just going to pick them off one by one and hopefully be up there at the end, but it's over.
He's got an optimistic attitude. Guys?
Well, his youth works for him in this kind of situation, doesn't it? Debris all over, and you got a pretty good view of Schechter as he had to come through that. Now the field behind Johnny Rutherford and the Pace truck on the pit road. And he's just going to lead him through here because of the condition of the track. Castro Neves peels off to make a stop. Alex Barron does. Scott Sharp does. Whoa. Al Unser comes sneaking in there in front of Hornet.
Busy time, remember, 60 miles an hour in the pit lane box. This is the high-speed lane, the transfer lane as they call it there. The drivers have to make sure that they don't cut into anybody else that's already coming down pit lane to try and get their pit box. Brian Barnhart said in the meeting today, we're not going to play any scare tactics up and down pit lane. We are certainly not going to take any opportunity to try and make anybody else lose a position in the pit box lane.
You know, Jill DeFerrin, look at him trying to get this car up and pull up. We had a shot of the Penske pits, and they actually straddle the start-finish line, and that's un-Penske-like.
Well, it all depends, I guess, where you qualify and how well you're doing. And unfortunately, they didn't qualify that far up front. So if they can't choose the further pit boxes closest to the pit exit, then they choose a break, and that's the closest break that they could get.
All right, we may have exactly what happened to Ed here. Take a look at this.
Now watch the car spark on the ground. We're not sure right there if actually something has broken on the car, the right rear suspension, which we suspected might happen. You can watch this go. You see that sun doing the glare, and there's a spark coming. So it makes you wonder if that right rear suspension looks like it has failed on him, and then he's actually got the weight transfer in the car, and then the car's going to go directly high.
Well, I tell you, it definitely looks like it failed to me. Whenever you see the left front wheel off in the air, that's a sure indication.
And that weight transfer lifts it off, so now we find out something broke on Ed's car. We'll be back.
We try to have them quit scuffing the tires, moving back and forth. We try to get them all in single file line. So when they get around to turns 3 and 4, what we call the cone zone, where the leader can start picking up the pace, and that's when we start to throw the green flag, so they can try to everybody's in line, ready to go.
Basically, on a restart, what we're looking for is actually to get a jump on the other guys. They say that, you know, we're not supposed to get a jump, but you really are looking to get an advantage if you can. Basically, if you're the lead car, what you do as soon as you get to that first cone, you just go.
They are so important in a race. You can win or lose a race there more than anywhere, I would say. What you're trying to accomplish is really get the car in front, get as many cars as you can in that restart, get the maximum run you can, and get to the front.
And as Dave Redinger was suggesting there, the rule says you can't pass, but it doesn't mean you can't get alongside.
Let me tell you, the restart is a definite opportunity. I certainly have lost races on the restart, and I have won races on the restart. It's a very important part of the race. And it's a nerve-wracking one, but it's a very, very important one. And you work a lot during the weekend to get the gears right, to get everything right for the restart.
Sunday night, two of Major League Baseball's most storied franchises will meet in interleague clash as the Red Sox wrap up their three-game weekend series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Coverage begins with the day's Major League highlights on Baseball Tonight at 7 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Well, they've been running the field down through the pits, and the reason is they are wanting to make sure they have all the debris from Ed Carpenter's accident off the track. It was a pretty heavy hit, and they had quite a bit of trouble actually getting the car out of the grass because it's rained so much here. Now the temperatures, today hit the 90s. Let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Ed Carpenter had a good race going, started 7th, but here we are again. What happened, Ed?
I mean, I might as well have been taken out in the crash before the crash where Anthony Ford crashed. People checked up in front of me, and I slowed up, and he got into the back of me, and there must have been something bent on my car. My teammate was by me. He said something looked like it may have bent. I felt fine. There was no vibrations or anything, so my crew and I came to the consensus that we'd keep going, but obviously we made a mistake and should have brought it in the pits, and we would at least save the race car probably, but it's just too bad. I mean, our only goal of this race was to finish the race, and we knew if we finished, we'd be in good shape, and it's not even dark yet, and this is a night race, and I'm already out, so it's pretty disappointing.
All right, Ed Carpenter. Let's go over to Jerry Punch.
Guys down in the Marlboro Team Penske pits. Let's update what's happening with Helio Castroneves and Sam Hornish. Now, to begin the race, Helio Castroneves' car was very, very free because it couldn't run very high yesterday in the final session. It was too free early in the race. Helio says the car is now coming to him, getting better and better as the night progresses. Now, his teammate, Sam Hornish, who came in a moment ago, had the car that was pushing off of turn 2. They put a half a turn of wing in it. They're going to bring these guys back down momentarily if we stay yellow, top off the tanks, and they might be able to go on one more fuel stop. Let's check in down in the green pits where Jack is standing by.
Well, Jerry, Kim Green just had a brief conversation with Peter Gibbons, who's one of the engineers for Andretti Green Racing, and with the Honda engineers. Let me know, what were you talking about?
Well, I was actually asking Tino Bello and Peter how the rest of the cars were, how Dan's car was. Dan wasn't really happy with his car yesterday in warm-up, and how Brian and Dario are going. And
how about Tony's car? How happy is he, and how happy are you with the performance so far?
Well, I think the car's good. I wasn't sure I wanted to lead. I'd rather make better fuel mileage, but he feels pretty good out front, feels like he's a bit happier in the clean air. So we'll just keep working away, and hopefully we can stay with Dario on a tail and just have a good, clean race.
Guys?
And while we were talking with both those, we had a quick pit stop by Al Unser Jr., the winner a year ago. Junior's not having the greatest of days, being listed in 18th, and here comes Sam Hornish in. Let's go to Jerry.
2-1 shallow, nice and easy.
Expecting a routine stop here for the Marlboro Team Penske effort for Sam Hornish. Roger Penske up making the call to bring him back in. Put 4 fresh Firestones on. Top it off with methanol. He is down and away. Great pit stop. Sam Hornish, remember now, has had a half a wing change in the front end. The car should be much better coming off of turn 2.
So Sam Hornish comes out. In the pit still is Thomas Schechter. They're working on the Pennzoil Panther entry. And we're in a caution. We've had 2 pretty substantial contacts with the wall in the IRL IndyCar Series, and this, the Bombardier 500. I'm Paul Page, Scott Goodyear, Jill DeFerrin here, and of course we have Jerry Punch, Jack Root, and Jamie Little covering down pit side. We're under the caution now.
Well, it's very conceivable. There is 145 laps to go. It's quite conceivable that Sam could go all the way to the end of the race. I mean, right now would be 2 stints of over 70 laps. So if we have more yellows, it's a possibility that he can make it with 1 more stop. So that could have been a smart move.
56 laps complete.
Paul, they're going to get down to turns 3 and 4. There's some cones down there on the wall. They call it the go zone between turns 3 and 4. That's where the cars will accelerate. We'll get a good indication where everybody is on restarts, and let's go.
Back up to speed, better than 200 miles an hour at Texas Motor Speedway. Front 3 lock up once again.
Clear behind, you're clear behind.
It's an interesting thing right now. You got Kanaan and Franchitti, the Team Andretti Green cars, then Rice and Mira, the Ray Hall Letterman cars, and here goes Rice having a look.
Rice comes down to the inside, loses a little momentum. Mira closes on the back of Rice.
Vitor's looking on the high.
That's Vitor Mira, the 17 car, looking on the high side.
Now, Paul, what would be a good thing for both Rice and Mira to do right now is instead of trying to pass each other, try to get in line, follow behind each other, and try to catch up to the 2 Andretti Green cars up front and try to make a run on them.
2 Andretti Green cars at the front. Right behind Mira, that's Herta and Weldon, the other 2 Andretti Green cars.
Well, one of the things that I thought it was interesting from Kim Green's interview is that you could clearly tell that he wasn't that keen on leading because he felt that making fuel mileage was more important than leading at this point. But, you know, Tony Alfred's got a fast car, and sometimes, you know, you don't want to back off too much.
Thomas Schechter has finally climbed out of the number 4 car. So he adds his name to that of Carpenter, and Foyt the 4th as being out of the Bombardier 500.
Yeah, obviously that touch with Dixon put more damage than they were comfortable running with, and then, you know, it's unfortunate, but there you go.
He also got caught up in that last accident and ended up running over some debris at the same time, so he just has no luck at Texas Motor Speedway, that guy.
Here's your Firestone telemetry on board with the 8 car, the Delphi entry of Scott Sharp.
See the G number right here, 3rd number down, 3.1 Gs. These guys see this at each end. That's the maximum peak number we'll see. We'll see if it increases going through turns 3 and 4 here. Tire pressure indicator right there. Actually, the temperature and pressure goes up. The car becomes a little bit higher off the ground. You won't see as many sparks when the car hits.
There comes Sam Hornish to the outside. Jerry Punch.
Hey guys, give a call to the Delphi team, Scott Sharp and Tom Kelly Racing. They made a major adjustment on the car on the very first yellow. And remember, whoa, Fernandez getting very high. Hold your breath, it's all about Texas. But Scott Sharp came from 21st starting spot all the way in the top 10 by virtue of a major tire pressure, air pressure, and front wing change. And now Scott Sharp moving back to the pack toward the top 10.
I spoke to Scott Sharp just actually before the race, and he said they made a lot of changes even from the last warm-up because he didn't qualify very well, obviously, and they've not been fast here all weekend, and what was there to lose, basically? Make some changes in the car, see if it improves for the race.
Tony Kanaan at 207 miles an hour last time around.
Well, obviously he can lead a lot faster than Dari was able to lead. Earlier on, Dari was leading at about 205, 206 miles an hour, and he picked up probably over a mile an hour on that now.
Rice comes inside Franchitti. Weldon at the same time working on Herta. And here's Hornish. He's on the move.
Clear by 1.
We're keeping an eye on the 6 car, the Marlboro Team Penske of Sam Hornish, as he has been working hard since the restart.
Well, obviously Hornish, we all heard him saying that he wasn't that happy with the car early on in the race, but obviously now things are working well for him. Is slicing through traffic, unbelievable. Really close to Helio there.
And Darren Manning's been just following him. Good move, Darren.
Got a nice toe off of Darren. Actually was able to go on the high side past Darren.
Inside.
Gotta love that pan cam, don't you?
Inside. Inside.
So as they continue side by side at the front, it's still Kanaan, Franchitti, Rice, and they're right together. Sun continues to drop. The lights are on. So 67 laps now complete of the 200 of the Bombardier 500. We're at the Bombardier 500 Texas Motor Speedway. Nice, clean start. A little slow, but boy, once they got going, they got rolling. Franchitti, the pole sitter, led early, and then Tony Kanaan made quick work of that, but they've really been going back and forth, so there's no dominant power established yet up front. On the 25th lap, Manning and Alex Barron touch. And then here is the teammate to Manning, Dixon, touching with Thomas Scheckter. Scheckter now out. Then Anthony Foyt gets forced up to the wall. Heavy hit, he's okay. On the 46th lap, Ed Carpenter, look how fast that yellow light flashed on. Looked like a big fire, but he was fine. We've talked with both Anthony and with Ed. And Thomas Scheckter just a few minutes ago walked away from his car, and we're back running again with Tony Kanaan in front.
Paul, interesting to see all those guys coming off of turn 2 and then going towards the low side of the racetrack, covering the inside lane, trying to make people go high. And that's what everybody's trying to get their car to work with right now. They sweep out of turn 2, try and find that lower line.
A little bit back in that pack. Taylor and Matsura battling for 5th place.
There we go. Everybody to the left, going down the backstretch towards 3.
There's Taylor for you, that number 2 car.
Yeah,
now you're on board with him.
Yeah, Mark is definitely doing a good job there. I mean, he had some unfortunate first 4 races. He's probably under a lot of pressure to have a good result there. And it's good if he can just do well in this race, get to the end. And right now he's doing a great job. He did a great job in qualifying. He's running in the top 6 there and keeping his head cool right now.
Boy, he's been running side by side with another rookie, the current leader in the rookie points battle, Kosuke Matsura.
You know, he didn't have a great race in the Menard Infinity Pro Series here last year because he crashed very early into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just letting each other know that they're there.
Oh.
But he won the series last year, so he has a lot of experience on these mile-and-a-half tracks.
You can't help but love it. This was just a few laps ago from Mark Taylor's view. Look at Weldon as he comes over next to Mira.
See, everybody comes off of turn 2, and the car's moving around a little bit. Everybody tries to get down the lower part of the track down here like we talked about before, protecting that inside line. You know, this just gets to be a little bit more wilder as the laps start to click off, and when we get to that final segment, it's an all-out goal for everything.
Well, I tell you what, I'm also really impressed with Matsura. I mean, he's a guy that's got very, very little experience, and he's behaving himself, I would say. He's running up front, you know, he's driving well right now, and he's right up there with everyone.
He's been driving smart all season. 78 laps complete as yet. Nobody's been lapped. They're all on the same lap.
Now, you hear exactly what's going on there. The spotter speaking to him in Japanese. That was sort of cool.
And he said?
I'll have to get back to you on
okay,
that.
thank you.
Joe, did you know what he said?
He said, I'll see you later in the bar.
Sam Hornish, we were watching him. He's now up to 6th place. Dario Franchitti, 3rd car in that line, the blue and white car with the red trim. He's been running the fastest. And now Dixon, a little further back in the field, running in 9th, heats it up and turns the lap in at 208.5 miles an hour. Of course, the draft, the toe, affecting that. You get side by side, you're going to slow down a little bit. But if you get a good toe, 2-car toe, everything's good.
You can get a lot of speed that way. In practice, we saw some guys running 211, 212, if I'm not mistaken.
That XM car, that's Brian Herta.
Big lift there from Dixon. I mean, something he must have nearly lost the car, because typically you're wide open all the way around the racetrack. Looks to me like he went over that bump there and had to get out of the throttle quite quickly.
You know, we talk about the speeds here. The pole speed was about 209. And last year, the 2 races, the pole speed in June was 219 by Scheckter and then a 222 last year by Gilles de Ferran on the pole. So this new 3-liter engine has certainly slowed the cars down a fair amount.
Well, that nice little work of Taylor has brought him and Matsura up into 4th. Top 3 are Kanaan, Rice, and Franchitti, Jackaroon.
But, Paul, as you ride on board with Buddy Rice, keep in mind he does not, I repeat, not want to lead this race. I just spoke to Scott Remke, and he said
we are making excellent fuel mileage, and he is very much aware of the concern that Tony Kanaan has by leading, and they are eating a lot more fuel up.
I tell you, Buddy is definitely playing this race very smart. He's now tucked in behind Tony. You can clearly see that he's not attacking Tony and just making fuel mileage, like Jack said.
You gotta love Mark Taylor. Wow. Mark Taylor, that blue number 2 car, it's got a stripe down the side. He's right in there.
Running 4th now.
We talk about fuel mileage. A lot of teams were saying that they were getting much better than 2. Some 2.4. Whoa, that 2.4, 2.6, 2.8 miles per gallon. Some of them were even saying they were getting 3 miles per gallon. To run as high as maybe 50 to 55 laps per fuel load. That's a long time, guys.
I love the way both of you are sitting up here, and you said it at the start of the show, watching in the cars that you drove so skillfully, and I bet your heart never got pumping as much as it is now. Tony Kanaan, Buddy Rice, Dario Franchitti, top 3. This is a little example of what we expected and, in fact, what we've seen so far in the Bombardier 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. Well, back at the Bombardier 500, Texas Motor Speedway, lap 92, approaching the halfway point. That's Brian Herta. At front, still Tony Kanaan. Buddy Rice is in second, Franchitti in third. You heard Jack Arute report that Buddy Rice, and I would suspect Franchitti and, in fact, Taylor, who is fourth, are pretty happy following rather than leading. Vitor Meira, our target fastest lap of the race thus far. Just like at Indy. I mean, he's something.
Well, he was doing a great job early in the race. After the first pit stop, he went away to the front, about third or fourth, and now he's dropping back a little bit. I don't know what's going on with him.
And there is some good news for him in sponsorship, too.
Well, you just heard that he's going to be in the car for the remainder of the year, so gives the driver a lot of comfort, a lot of confidence, and then he gets to go to testing, and there's a test coming up next week at Milwaukee on Wednesday and Thursday for all the teams, just to get ready for that track, which will be running here sometime this summer.
Now, Syntrex, a very race-oriented sponsor. Just to get one little plug in as you ride with Darren Manning, they were one of our team cars when we raced the Baja 1000 this year. They also finished in front of me, way in front of me. I'm going to take you back a couple laps ago. Darren Manning was trying to make a move on Greg Ray. Remember at Indy? Whoa.
I tell you, that was definitely a brave move. Yeah.
Watch this.
That's actually Herta there.
That was definitely a close one. I tell you, one thing you got to admire about this guy, he's definitely brave.
And a likable character, too. I mean, he's just everywhere in the month of May.
He was doing the main manning for SportsCenter in the month of May. And it was some really funny stuff over there, I tell you.
Here he goes.
Mark Taylor, who has had his problems twice getting into the pits on previous occasions, but in this race he's been clean so far. Look at that. There's your fueler and your vent guy, and he's gone.
A clean stop for him.
Hear the engine stuttering because they've got an electronic control. Keeps it down under the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit till it gets to the end.
Well, this is a green stop for all these guys, and it's really important to get in and get out of the racetrack as fast as you can. You can make and lose a lot of time.
Well, routine pit stop for Buddy Rice. He pitted last on lap 27. He'll then come in on lap 97, exactly this lap. 2.8 miles per gallon, getting excellent fuel mileage. Right side tires, a little longer than he would like. He is finally down to 9.9 seconds for the reigning Indy 500 winner.
Everybody else on the pit road now. Here's your leader, Tony Kanaan. He comes in. Franchitti comes behind him. Not sure it stays out. Jack?
And this is the only way Tony Kanaan could get out of leading this race. Nobody wanted to overtake him. Jim Green giving him the signal, and they are in and out.
Franchitti, then Herta, they roll. And so does the 5 car of Adrian Fernandez.
This time where Fernandez is, the driver is trying to go as fast as he can through there to make as much time as he can, because you can lose a lot of time over there. There is Matsuda leading the race right now.
Well, Jerry Punch gave you the numbers. It was actually what, about 44 laps since the last pit stop. And Joe DeFerrin, as we watch Koski Matsura, the leader, I mean, in theory, he's probably got another 15 laps or so in that car.
Indeed he does, and he seems like he's pulling away from the pack, which is very impressive, I must admit.
All right, so why are these other guys stopping now?
Koska, you are the leader. You are the leader.
Just over the halfway point.
A little bit of strategy possibly coming out right now. Everybody possibly wants to maybe put tires on. Maybe they felt their car wasn't working well. But it is interesting to see people not take advantage of the long length of the fuel tank load. Because if you get a caution, obviously you get to pit underneath a slower race pace than you do when it's underneath green. So
I think I understand what happened. I think on the previous yellow, some guys stopped and others didn't. And I think Matsuda was one of the guys that stopped. And so he's got a few laps of fuel that are more than what Rice and Kanaan and Franchitti had. So that's probably why he's going on.
Yeah, my calculation, he's coming up on his 50th lap out of the pit. As is, by the way, Manning, who sits in second. And Hornish is down in third. There he is. He's only 48 laps out. All of that is true now of the top 10. And 10th place is Al Unser Jr.
See the lights on the inside of the racetrack right now, and also up on the tall poles. This is the time where the drivers, if they started out with a dark shield, have difficulty seeing. Most drivers generally start out with a clear shield. Yeah, battle that sun for the first couple of laps. Here's Dixon.
Here's Scott Dixon, the defending IRL IndyCar Series champion from Auckland, New Zealand. Let's go down to Dixon's pit.
Scott Dixon saying he's going to come in with the left front tire. It's actually the front right. And looks like he got 3 tires, guys. That's it.
So in 11 seconds, Scott Dixon is back rolling again. Scott Sharp on the road. Coming in from 7th place. You love that visor cam?
Brake, reset your fuel. Hold the brake. Hold it. Go, 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 go.
And here comes the leader, Koski Matsura. Jack?
Taking advantage of that early caution, gave them a few extra laps. Now the Panasonic crew, led by Tom Anderson, goes to work. There is a half-turn adjustment on the wing, revving up the engine, and he stalled it for a second, did not lose fire, and he's off and away.
At Darren Manning that came in with him, the Target Chip Ganassi number 10. And Greg Ray, hometown guy, the guy who is now saying, we're going to try and make it to every race. We've got some support. Greg Ray is the leader.
Tell those spotters to get those.
You heard pit in 2, so that means he's going to pit in 2 laps.
Sam Hornick in. Gary Punch.
And Sam Hornish's car is much, much better than it has been with that adjustment of the front wing. It is turning much better in turn 2. Great pit stop for the Marlboro team. Penske efforts for Sam Hornish.
When Ray comes in, we'll see if Elio Castroneves doesn't do it with him. Al Unser Jr., last year's winner in the pits now. 1999 Series champion Greg Ray. And by the way, is also just enormously good at putting cars on the pole and driving fast.
Also a guy that can bench press over 300 pounds, Paul.
Oh, can't we all? Yeah, no. Okay.
I tried once, but it didn't work.
You know, the pit stops are so cool, so coordinated.
Nice and clean.
And Elio Castroneves, who would have picked up the lead.
We are all by ourselves.
Tim Cindric talking to him.
Elio's crew is probably one of the fastest crews in the pit lane. They were very fast. The guy on the right rear is very quick.
Elio Castroneves, routine pit stop. He said the track is coming to him. He is getting better and better and will be a factor these final 80 laps.
And so Kanaan picks the lead back up again. 111 laps complete, 200 the scheduled distance.
Well, now that the dust has settled, I think we'll get a true picture of who is where in the race. And obviously Tony's leading now. Very good at pit stop and good in and out lap.
So Tony Kanaan, who loves this place, almost won this race last year, chasing Al Unser Jr. to the line. And now for the first time, they begin to spread out just a little bit as we see Greg Ray coming up to speed alongside of Scott Dixon. His kids stopped by the fence for a moment, give him a good luck charm and wish him well. We'll be right back. As Greg Ray came into the pits and all of the stops cycled through, Tony Kanaan took the lead and now holds the largest lead that we've seen thus far, 2.8 seconds over the Indy 500 champion Buddy Rice and Dario Franchitti. Vitor Meira is in fourth, and Mark Taylor, the rookie, is back in fifth place.
Well, Tony is one guy that I know practices during, you know, every day that he can, this in and out lap thing that we were talking about. He's very, very good on cold tires. He's very good coming into the pits and making as much time as he can. And that paid off for him. He was able to break away from the rest of the pack. Very impressive work by Tony there.
So they all have completed now. There should just be one more. Look at the crowd. They expected 90,000 here tonight. Eddie Gossett runs this magnificent speedway, and actually let me up into the Speedway Club. I know you and Scott both have cards for it.
What was the food like in there?
I wasn't allowed to touch the food, no. But I got to look.
No, one thing is interesting. They slowly but surely, Rice is pulling Tony in. At one point it was about 3 seconds. Now it's down to 2.7 seconds. You got this big group of guys behind him trying to catch him up.
He's actually got a little help there with Franchitti running behind him.
Yeah, Franchitti's being smart there. The worst thing Franchitti could do is try to challenge Rice at this point. So he's being smart. They're just tucking him behind.
At the Bombardier 500, the IRL Indycar Series, they're still setting laps at better than 205, 206. Actually, last lap around at 206.9 miles an hour for our leader, Tony Kanaan. You see those four all running together? That's pretty much what we've seen for the last 121 laps, and we expect for the next 79.
Well, that's a tough decision for a driver to make there, because we know when you run side by side that you run slower. You're trying to catch up to the front. But it's a tough one because you want to get to the front of that pack just the same. So do you run in line or do you try to get to the front of that pack to catch the pack ahead of you? It's a difficult decision.
Still there. Inside. Inside. You're clear. Great job. Great.
Brian Herta came into the pits, and looks like it's a bad day for him, eh, Jack?
Yeah, it's the end of the night for the XM Satellite Radio car. Brian, we'll put you out.
We've been fighting this problem all weekend where we're having some kind of a skip in the back of the car. It started doing it again in the race, and finally something let go. I think it was the clutch, something like that. We just lost drive. The engine was still running, but the wheels weren't turning, so. And I got to root for my teammates. You know, hope Tony or Dan or Dario can pull it out today. And we'll go root for the Lakers tomorrow and hope the Lakers can win tomorrow.
All right, I better not tell them, guys, that I'm a Detroit fan, huh?
Now, in fact, I'd step away if you say that too loud. Brian Herta, enormous sports fan, loves hockey as well. There's the leader, Tony Kanaan. His teammate, Dan Weldon, who is the points leader coming into this event, is sitting down in 17th. And that's Scott Sharp, And that looks serious. Visor cam. They have not gone yellow for this, Scott.
Well, you know, he said shut the engine off, so it certainly makes me feel like
oh,
oil on the track.
Mark Taylor.
Anytime there's smoke coming out of the back, there is the opportunity for some type of a fluid. So we'll have to see if this had any effect on anything to do with Scott Sharp.
Fluid, you mean water or oil?
Fluid, yes, fluid.
Fluid. Now, Mark Taylor, he's obviously all right. It actually was more of a glancing blow than anything else, but he puts the steering wheel up, first sign that you're okay.
Yeah, well, it's an unfortunate day for Mark. I mean, he really needed a good result here. Like we said earlier, he had 4 crashes already. It's a really unfortunate thing for him. You know, I actually drove for his dad when I was back in England, and I was really cheering for him.
But that number 8 car may have actually been the fault of it, and so the second of the 2 Panther cars now gone.
Tony Kanata, the Bombardier 500, is pulled onto pit road. Now, Kim Green had hoped that they would only have to make 1 stop, but there are still 70 in this race. Gary Punch.
And a major front wing adjustment as Buddy Rice beats Tony Kanata out of the pit. But likewise, Buddy Rice will have to make 1 more stop. They cannot make it all the way, but they are celebrating down here in the Ray Hall Letterman pit because they beat the 11 car out on the racetrack.
Let's check with Kim Green and find out, can you go the distance, Kim? Or at 72 laps, that would be amazing.
Well, I think we'll need some yellow laps to do that, but you got to bank. There's been several yellows tonight, so it'll be 1 more stop if we don't get any more yellows for everybody, I think.
Guys?
Well, let's think about that. 70 laps, 72 would actually be the distance if they're going to try to get to the end. Obviously, you're going to need another full yellow. But more logically, you're going to see another stop, maybe right towards the end.
Well, it might just be a splash and go, Paul. They won't be actually changing tires. They'll just go in and put a little bit of fuel in just to get them to the end of the race.
Mark Taylor's car on the hook, and here's his onboard.
Now watch, he just changed gears down here. Now watch his hands, how quickly they move. Once the car starts to go loose in the back end, and the impact is so fierce, it actually just knocks the camera off the car. You see all the sparks, the injuries there, and boy, that was close. Castroneves got out of it. And Manning almost chucked right into him.
Yeah, I tell you, Robbie Gordon called this the death wiggle in Indianapolis. You know, when you feel that wiggle, you know you're not coming back. But I tell you, Mark did a good job to keep the car against the wall there, because if had he turned in front of Helio, that could have been a much worse situation for everyone.
So we've got some guys out of the race. It's been pretty costly. Look at that list. Foyt the Fort, Carpenter, those were both hits with the wall. Schechter, mechanical as a result of a touch, and Herta, you heard that was something in the back end behind the power plant. Jerry?
Let's check in with Scott Remke here and find out exactly how far Buddy Rice can go. And Scott, you guys were going to stay out, then come in, then stay out. You opted to come in, but how far can you make it now in this tank of fuel?
Well, you know, everyone, it looks like it's going to have to stop 1 more time, and we can go somewhere between 56, 57 laps. So depending on how the yellows fall, we'll just see when we stop.
If you do the math, that puts you in with about 20 to go. So watch out. Final 20 laps could be wild. It could be 1 here on pit road. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Scott Sharp just pulled into the pit road, and you were smoking. What happened out there?
Yeah, unfortunately, smoking the wrong way. You know, obviously something let go in the motor. I'm not really sure. We were running great. Delphi guys just gave me a really good car, and we lost a little bit of speed coming out of that pit, and it just seemed like we were about a mile or 2 down. I was able to jump behind Barron and get towed along with him, and then all of a sudden just the real pitch of the engine changed, and we just lost speed, and next you know, smoke's pouring out of the back.
Tough break.
Yeah, it's too bad. It would have been some good points tonight, but I guess Richmond.
Well, they put in a lot of work in that car leading up to this race, guys.
Yeah, when you met Scott Remke, the team manager for Ray Hall Letterman a moment ago, he's actually the senior guy there right now. Bobby Rahall's up in Montreal where his son is racing, and Dave Letterman, we've actually seen him since Indy, but I think he's still celebrating. So under the caution, Rice the leader all year. The Los Angeles Lakers have been united by 1 single goal to reclaim the NBA title. Sunday night, Game 4 of the NBA Finals on ABC. The Lakers go up against the last team standing in their way, the hungry, determined Detroit Pistons. NBA Finals Sunday night at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. In just 2 weeks, we'll go under the lights again in Richmond, Virginia, where the racing is tight. And that battle for the Indy Racing League Championship title goes into full swing. Sam Hornish Jr. has found victory lane, or maybe it'll be last year's winner, Scott Dixon, smiling again. Jackaroo?
Well, Chip Ganassi is calling the shots for Scott Dixon as we get ready to come back up through the gearbox. They have gone green, but I wonder if Scott Dixon, Chip Ganassi, is going to cruise for a while and make mileage.
Well, you know, Jack, we actually need a splash to get to the finish. We were at the back of the pack there. We had nothing to lose by stopping there and topping it off. Get a little bit of yellow, we might make it. Otherwise, we're going to need a splash.
All right, as we watch Tony Kanaan reassert himself in the front. Fellas, the story is in the back.
Yeah, but he lost all the advantage that he had prior to the yellow. Tony Kanaan now leading Rice.
Well, this is, I think, a key moment here for the race, because a guy has to make a decision whether he's going to stop or not, and hopefully Tony decided that he's going to have to stop, so he might as well be leading and not be bothered with, you know, being in the middle of the pack, and which is always a riskier strategy.
And you heard some communication there to Rice's car from his pits. Work on fuel mileage as he sits behind Kanaan.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
That's exactly what they were talking to him during the yellow a moment ago. They told Buddy Rice, we can't make it, but if we were to get some yellows, we might have a shot. There may be a couple of cars they're going to try to make it, like Dixon, for example. So get in behind the 11, pack it in, and save all you can save.
And look at this. The 55 car Koski Matsura has begun slowing down.
Car outside.
Yeah, he sounds very sick right now. I mean, it just came by the booth here, and the engine sounds very sick, unfortunately.
There's Al Unser Jr., last year's winner at this race, by just the blink of an eye over Tony Kanaan. Kanaan now leads it.
A late start in the season here, really. He's just started at Indianapolis. Team put together with Patrick and Steve New, but you know, he's got a little catching up to do. They're a little bit behind the curve as far as development is concerned, but certainly will get that caught up very shortly here. They got a great wealth of information with the team and the crew they've assembled.
And racing for one of the great names in the sport, Pat Patrick and Patrick Racing.
And now he's a very, very experienced guy. I mean, there's one guy you don't want to see in your rear view mirror when everything is working for him as Al Unser Jr. He's very good at restarts, very good at it in and out, and very good overtaking, trying to find a place to pass you.
Junior currently sets back 15th. Once again, we have everybody on the track on the lead lap. Look at Mira.
Outside.
Mira is that 17 car that darted out from third. Right behind him, Hornish, Franchitti. It tightens at the front.
Interesting to see. It's mostly Hondas. The first Toyota is Hornish in fourth. There's a little bit of the story also at Indianapolis, and then his teammate right now sixth, Castro Neves, is the next Toyota in line. A little bit of Honda domination here tonight.
There's Vitor Mira. And Jill, he comes up the same way that many of the Brazilian guys came up. Great teams down there, great in Formula 3 and into these cars.
Yeah, he did a lot of karting in Brazil, and he came up, did quite a bit of Formula 3 in South America, was very successful over there, and here he is again. He's what we call an experienced rookie. He's a guy that is young, but he's done a lot of racing already.
And it's going to be hard to find a nicer guy in this series.
Very fast. I tell you, he's been very impressive ever since the first day he sat in one of these cars.
Maybe it's time to watch Hornish, guys. He seems like he's closing into his first three cars.
Yep, he's just nibbling away at the front. The 6th car of Sam Hornish.
Oh, close with Franchitti through the tri-oval.
So Mark Taylor, he had his problems earlier and is now with Jamie Little.
That's right. Mark was having the race of his life. He's a rookie. He started 10th, and now you worked your way all the way up to 4th at one point. But Mark, what happened?
Well, we had a great car. The Menard John Manville car working really well in traffic, out of traffic. Just able to make sure that we were biding our time, get up into that top 5. That's the main point to be in. And I'm not sure what really happened. Just sat behind Vitor, catching up the guys in front. ready to fight for the last 50 laps or 20 laps or whatever, but just wasn't meant to be. Just the back end came round behind Vitor, not sure what happened, but put me in the wall, and unfortunately that's another race not finished. It's a shame.
Tough day, guys, for the Panther pits. Well, Thomas Scheckter and Mark Taylor are out of the race.
And tough day for Panther Racing with both of their cars now out of competition. Kanaan, Rice, Mira, and 90,000 people watching as they circle here in the Bombardier 500, and we're getting close to the finish. We'll be back.
Finish line is almost here, and someone softly whispers in my ear, times like these are memories to hold deep down inside of you and me.
Now the sun has dropped at Texas Motor Speedway. It's twilight. The lights are on. The cars of the IRL Indycar Series just sparkle. Tony Kanaan is the leader. Buddy Rice continues his fight.
Well, you see, Scott Dixon, who we were guessing that would try to make it all the way to the end, now he's really dropped back from the lead pack and is following Takagi around.
Jack Arute, what's going on with Kanaan's team?
Well, let's check in with Kim Green. How much fuel are you able to conserve up front?
Well, we're certainly trying hard. We're doing a pretty good job, but I doubt that anybody could run all the way to the end at the moment. I'll need some help with yellows. You know, yellows can come out at funny times, so we're working hard as we can. And, yeah, we're going to have to come in for a splash and go at the moment.
And, fellas, this is turning out to be the race that nobody wants to lead. Just look at the race pace. It's dropped off.
Yeah, they've fallen off to 204.3 miles an hour, but they're still grouped right together. About 25 laps since the last stop.
Oh, man.
that
Over
was
turn
close.
1, turn 2 bump, and that was just a little close.
And you guys say this was fun.
Plenty of time.
Never used to watch it.
I'll tell you, that was a close call. It looks to me like Manny has got too much understeer in his car, because every time he gets to the inside or somebody gets his air out, he tends to understeer quite a bit, and he almost understeered into Sam over there.
And that understeer that we're talking about is when the car does not react to the amount that the driver turns, and the car wants to go sliding up the racetrack front end first.
That's exactly what happened over there with him again.
Yeah, from Hornish's camera, you're getting a great view. Look at Vitor Mira over alongside there as he just comes firing up. Franchitti started to slow, we thought, but no, he's fine.
Now this is where we see everybody coming out of 2 we talked about before. Here we come back to the Franchitti situation. The blue and white car right there. As soon as you get hung up from the cars in front of you and you take your foot off the gas, you lose that momentum with this new 3-liter engine, and then you become a bit of a sitting duck, and everybody just takes the opportunity to drive on by. And a little bit of touching going on with Manning there. That was an excuse me, pardon me, of coming through.
Get out of my way. Yeah, when Jill won this race last fall, it was with a 3.5-liter engine. It's the first time they've raced the 3 liters, which was introduced in Indianapolis, and so horsepower is down. Jill, you have any idea how much?
Well, some people say close to 100 horsepower these engines are down. Not that you probably feel in this type of racetrack, apart from the restart, because let me tell you, you're going pretty fast still.
But the greatest thing is it's the engine's ability to pull the car once you've gotten out of the throttle and dropped off speed a little bit and get it back up.
Exactly. The acceleration with the 3-liter is much less than what it was with the 3.5-liter, making the gearing for the restarts and all that very, very sensitive.
Hornish goes side by side with Buddy Rice.
We talked about him going to work just a little while ago. Starting to be very strategic, setting up his car. You know, he loves that high side, and he's probably trying to make his car get ready for the end of the race right now.
Well, you remember the game that he played with Elio at Miami? Back and forth, let him see him here, let him see him there, tried him constantly. Look at that up ahead.
They're running very, very close to each other.
Still there.
Rice on the left. That right camera pod up on top, that white one, that tells you that it's Hornish. Number 6 will help you with that too, but Everybody on the track knows who that is. Two-time winner at this race, two-time IRL champion.
A little bit of a grassy moment there for Manny. He had to cut through the grass there.
You're really loving this, aren't you?
I tell you, I don't know what to say. I tell you one thing I do know what to say. That whole Franchitti situation that we saw a few minutes ago really not only put Franchitti to the back of that pack, but also put Elliott to the back of that pack, and they're both running around the back of that pack. Oh man, that's
Can you believe this? Can you believe it? At better than 204 miles an hour.
And it's still outside. Outside.
Mira and Manning. They sit station on each other. You're on board with Manning. There's Mira.
Big understeer there from Manning. He had to get out of the throttle, almost run into Mira again.
And look again up front as they dart toward and then away from one another.
See, Mira, at that point, he's got a lot of speed, but he's got nowhere to go. So he's got to sit and bide his time there behind Hornish to see how that battle plays out.
Vitor Mira still has the target fastest lap of the race at better than 211 miles an hour. 211.4. Sam Hornish has been up above 211 as well, though. So with Kanaan out in front, Rice still trying to hold on to second place, and Mira and Manning battling. We'll go away for a short break here, trying to get you all set up for a clear finish. There's Brian Herta, who is now out in T-shirt. It's been hot here, 92 degrees, watching the action from the Andretti Green pits, and what he's watching is his teammate Tony Kanaan out in front. And for the first time, we're actually seeing the leaders overtake a slower car. It'll be Kanaan, Rice, Manning, Hornish Jr., and Greg Ray's up there as well as they come around last year's winner at this race, Al Unser Jr.
Well, Unser just came out of the pits. He pitted on lap 163 for fuel, so he wasn't quite back up to speed and couldn't get out in front of this group, so they just caught him up, and now they're going to go right by.
The Firestone telemetry out of Scott Dixon's car, looking over to Tor Takagi.
And Scott Dixon, the head dropped back from that leading pack. Now he's right in the middle of the pack, just a situation he probably wanted to be in.
Two cars. Clear. Outside. Clear. Outside.
That's a lot of close calls.
Outside.
Ooh, that was close.
Junior in front of you. Outside still.
Just listen to the spotter.
You gotta go higher. Tell Junior to stay low.
A little excitement from the spotter, that's for sure.
Scott, you wanted to look at this again.
Well, interesting note, when we saw Sharp's car, you saw his tire telemetry showing that the tire pressure and temperature were actually down in the yellow. Right now, it's over here in the green, and you know, we talked about getting high before in the racetrack, not much grip up there.
Well, I tell you, Scott is very uncomfortable on the high side. We just saw him try to go high on Al Unser Jr. and really getting out of the throttle. He's I would venture to say he's not too happy with his car right now.
Well, Jill, you were making a really strong point that, like the Indy 500, where you really try not to race until the last 100 miles, in this event, you try to get to the last 20 laps. We're about 28 from the finish now.
I think what you see here is, you know, the guys trying to set up for this last pit stop. Once they come out of this last pit stop, then, you know, forget strategy, forget conserving fuel, forget anything. Then it's as hard as you go, because that's what's going to decide the race. Now we're getting to the point there where the strategy is no longer part of the whole thinking process. Now it's track position. You want to get to the front, you want to lead, because that's what's probably going to give you the win.
Down to the pits again, Jack Arute.
Well, Jill, with all due respect to driver prowess, these are the guys that are going to determine who wins this race tonight. This is the crew that's gone to work for Tony Kanaan. They've been watching the big screen monitor, but more importantly, they are beginning to focus in on the 9 seconds, possibly only 5 seconds, that they left to perform in this final stop. If it's a splash and go, they have got in the forefront of their mind the problem they had, Kevin Fox, with that first stop when he had problems getting the vent hose out. There is pressure on this 7-Eleven crew. They're just waiting for the bell to go to work.
Well, but they're not alone. Consider Rice's crew, Manning's crew, considering all the possibilities.
Yeah,
as the laps unroll here.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on all the crews now because they know that their work is going to be decisive. A small mistake in the pits could really be costly to the final result on the race.
Sam Hornish still in there, right behind the 10 car of Manning, sitting in 4th place right now.
Clear by 1.
Week ago it was wedding day, and there is Mrs. Crystal Hornish. Sam Hornish's wife.
Where those guys were going to go on their honeymoon, and they said, well, she said to me, well, I think we're going to go to Texas Motor Speedway.
Jamie.
They're also going to get to go to Las Vegas for a little break too, but this is the first race that Crystal's watching her husband. She is nervous. She's been watching the big screen. She's watching the track, and she hasn't made a bit of an emotion on her face. It must be tough being a wife. I would not want to be in that position, guys.
I was not at the Hornish wedding, mostly because I was at my daughter's wedding.
And here's an important move. That's the first time Rice decided to pull out from Tony and perhaps lead this race. That's very interesting.
Inside, no threat from behind.
He probably turned up the fuel and said, okay, we got to go try to lead this race now.
Yeah, but I wonder why.
Well, the key thing, guys, you're going to be pitting for fuel very shortly. If you can come in the pits first, and you have a good chance to leave first. So right now, his team's probably said, you need to be in front because we're going to have to pit very shortly. We've had no yellows.
How did they get away with that?
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Second time tonight, and they go yellow. So this is going to bring everybody into the pits. It's been 51 laps since the last stop. Oh, man. Oh. Yeah, you know, you put 2 cars together. Brian Barnhart and the IRL officials are absolutely right, hit yellow there, because you have no idea what's on that track, and a punctured tire could make it a whole lot worse.
Also, right now, you want to look at Manning's wing on that right front wing, rather. He's got some damage because that wing is hanging down, so he's going to have to repair that nose once again.
But you know what? I think I've just seen the most impressive series of avoidances ever.
I tell you, that was definitely hard stopping. And Hornish also went up into the odd. He might have some damage too. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Rice, with Hornish, and with Manning.
So let's go back and look at that. If it didn't take your breath away then, it will now.
Everybody getting together. Rice trying to go down to the bottom side of the racetrack, just getting into the area where Manning is. You know, everybody's fighting for the same piece of real estate. He didn't want to actually give up that space because he worked so hard on Kanaan, could not get the job done. So he probably didn't even see Manning starting to come on the lower side. And those guys were very lucky. That could have been a big one, guys.
This is from Buddy Rice's point of view.
See, and wow, those wheels were just interlocking like that, and you can see why that right front wing got damaged. And look at all the action going on the steering wheel there. Guys, that's over 210 miles an hour they're doing that.
And the second time tonight, we've almost seen interlocked wheels. Pits are now open.
Let me tell you, that looks like perhaps small corrections to everybody that's watching, but that was a big correction there, and that was a hard stopping moment, I think, for all the guys that were there.
So in addition to the splash and go, and a number of the teams have set out tires, Buddy Rice's team being one of them and Sam Hornish being another, everyone that's been involved in that needs to take a good look and make sure that nothing else has happened. Let's go to Jamie Little.
Sam Hornish is coming in right now. They're going to do a quick inspection of the car. They had Elio Castroneves come up next to him and try to look at the car. They're going to do tires and fuel, guys.
First away, it's Dario Franchitti.
Well, Elio stayed out on this stop, which is very interesting. Both
long time for Rice. Long time.
There we go. Everybody getting together on the exit. Fernandez trying to split in between the cars. This is a bit of a bumper car evening, guys.
Rice still in the pits. The Indy champion in, yeah, they're worried. Jerry.
Well, they have a broken drive shaft here in the Buddy Rice pit. Buddy said he thought something was bent in the back of the car. Then the crew said, no, I think you got a tire going down. Come in, we'll put 4 tires on it, and you should be okay. He came in when he locked the brakes up and tried to put it back in gear, it would not pull. Broken drive shaft, and the Indy 500 winner from 2 weeks ago will climb out, having come very close, but not making it 2 in a row.
2 weeks can make an amazing amount of difference. What was it Danny Sullivan used to say? There's only 1 letter difference in champ and chump. Not to chump, of course, he'd been in the middle of the fight. But The champ is sitting on the wall.
Yeah, big disappointment for Buddy Rice. He had a good car. He runs smart all race. He was unfortunate to get in that incident there with Manning, and you know, here he goes. He's out of the race. But he is going to continue to be a force, I think, throughout the rest of the season. That's for sure.
Jill DeFerrin, it's your former team. What's Roger doing now? Well, let's look at him coming out of the pits first. Boy, that was a big pitch.
Yep. That's Dixon up in the air. I mean, that probably did damage not only Dixon's suspension, but also Fernandez's suspension.
Now that's Dixon's in the right lane, guys. On the right-hand side, he is in the right lane. The middle lane is a transfer lane, and you can't come out of your pit box and go right out to the high-speed lane on the very right.
It looks like right front suspension in Dixon is broken.
Jerry Punch.
Well, Buddy Rice has climbed out of the Ray Hall Letterman car. And, Buddy, we saw the contact. What happened out there?
I'm not really sure. I didn't know anyone was down there. The last I heard, there was no threat behind me, so we started to fall back in line. And right there, as we went and turned in, I just got a big hit from the side. I don't know if we came down or car came up. I'm really not sure until I see it, but I mean, I had no idea anybody was there. So,
did you know something was broken as you came down pit road, or did you just feel it as you started to leave?
It didn't. Nothing broke until he stuck it in gear. As soon as he stuck it in gear, it broke the half shaft.
All right, Buddy Rice sits on the wall here. You can tell the disappointment here. They thought they had the car to beat, and they thought they had something left for Tony Kanaan.
Well, you saw Scott Dixon brought his car in and climbed out as well. There he stands now, his helmet off. Adrian Fernandez came in. They did some quick work on the car, and they've just rolled his car back into the action. So under the caution again, but the setup for an awesome finish at Texas. It's been an expensive night. 8 cars out of the race thus far officially. Ready to go green. Momentum picks up. And look at this as they come back to green once again. The question is, Weldon, Catherine Evans, what's the game that's going to come there? Tony Kanaan comes down on the inside. Franchitti works up on the high side.
Now you're watching Castor Nevis right now not being able to get a good start. That's because he's running lean on fuel, because he's trying to conserve fuel. Less fuel in the engine is less horsepower. He does not have the horsepower on the restart to run up front with those guys.
For Dan Weldon, the red and white number 26 car, it's been 58 laps since his last stop. There goes Kanaan down on the inside. Franchitti's with him in second place, and Franchitti's trying to grab that second place. Let's go to Jack.
Well, Paul, as we watch the action as Alex Barron moves into the third position for Dan Weldon, it's a case of conserving fuel. Tony Koppman has made the call that they are going to try and go the distance without fuel, and it is paying a dear price right now. But in the meantime, the big key is who will be able to sustain it to the end. Will it be Tony Kanaan or Dario Franchitti? And don't count out Alex Barron in third.
Oh, Sam Hornish goes way down inside of Weldon. Weldon kind of backpedals on that one.
Clear high.
The Weldon slowing down there. Something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, you know, Weldon he's got a right front corner.
Now the gearbox is gone.
Well, there's your answer.
Okay, I copy. Get her on it. Make sure you see that.
Something happened there.
So they say, you heard Dan say the gearbox is gone.
You can't get it, pull right down off the track to the inside into the deep end of the XL lane.
So we've had a couple of interesting problems with gearboxes the entire weekend here. Weldon had a little problem earlier in the week. Kanaan, Franchitti, Barron, Hornish Jr. as they come by Dan Weldon.
Well, the part of this part of the race, you know, it's like no more strategy now. Now whoever's in front is going to try to stay in front, and you see Barron there is doing a fantastic job. He started last, in fact, and now he's third.
Yeah, last time we mentioned him, he jumped up 7 positions. Now he's jumped up all the way to third from 22nd. And look at the group behind him. Kanaan, Franchitti, Ray, Hornish, Mira, they're all there.
Well, one thing is quite interesting now. When everybody was trying to save fuel in the middle of the race, they were doing 204, 205 miles an hour, and now Tony's leading the race at 208.6 miles an hour. He's showing he's got the speed to lead this race now.
8 to go. And nothing is really decided.
They're going as hard as they can now.
There's Ray, the 13 car, the blue one right behind Mira, currently 6th. He needed this run. Mira is going to move high on Hornish.
Well, I tell you, this is really turning out to be quite a good race for Tony. Tony's leading. He's shown he's got a lot of speed now in the lead, and it doesn't look threatened by Franchitti. But then again, you never know if Franchitti is holding back until the last lap or something like that.
Now 6 to go.
Certainly those 2 Honda cars up front seem like they got the legs to run out front by themselves, and we'll have to see if Barron right now, who's very impressive in the Chevrolet, has the opportunity to maybe take a draft off of both of those guys. But as the laps wind down, you're going to have to position yourself. Remember, this racetrack is very typical. That doesn't happen in the last couple of laps, and we're going to see a situation where it's going to come down the last lap, last couple of turns in 3 and 4. Oh man, they're getting real close. Or as we've seen many times, from turns 4 to the start and finish line is where it usually happens.
Oh, look at that. They go 3 wide. Mira, Hornish, Barron.
And Mira, very impressive. He's on the 3rd lane. Let me tell you, it's very difficult there because the track is dirty and the car is sliding all over the place. That was impressive stuff.
Ray gets in under Mira. 4 laps to go now.
Now what these guys got to do in this second group that we see right there, they got to get in single file line, start to catch up to both Kanaan and Franchitti that are up ahead if they're going to have a shot at getting involved in the drafting battle for the win. They stretched out a lead right now, as you can see.
Doesn't look like they do a very good job in staying single file.
Kanaan and Franchitti, teammates at the front. 3 to go. Hornish gets it way down under the white line.
Outside, 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 outside.
Well, I think barring disaster, I mean, this race really looks like it's going to be decided between Franchitti and Tony, and then a 3rd place fight there between these 4 cars that you're seeing.
Yeah, we may know the names. Helio Castroneves pulls off the course. He is out.
He might be out of fuel.
Absolutely, 69 laps since the last fuel
Long
stop.
way.
Even with yellows, that one doesn't work.
It all comes down to this moment. The white flag comes out at the start-finish line. Just 1 to go. Teammates, Kanaan, Franchitti. The move will have to come heading into 3. About 40 feet separate those 2 cars. Franchitti decides to pull a little high. Is he trying to aggravate any conditions on Kanaan's car? He's setting himself for the finish now. Tony Kanaan makes that final turn. Heads for the finish line. Franchitti doesn't have the power to get there. It's Kanaan, then Franchitti, then Alex Barron, Sam Hornish Jr., Adrian Fernandez. That's your top 5, and Tony Kanaan scores his 3rd career win and 2nd of the season. And with that, Tony Kanaan will take the IRL IndyCar Series points lead. Wow. Not as close as some we've seen, but nevertheless, what a day. We've saw near disaster at least 2 different times in this race, and they drove out of it. So Tony Kanaan, unofficially, followed by his teammate, the 27 car of Dario Franchitti. And this guy, Michael Andretti, owns both of them. Well, they said it was going to be a crowd of over 90,000, and they're still, for the most part, standing and watching. Tony Kanaan has won the Bombardier 500 and starts now to climb out of his car. He did some magnificent burnouts and donuts at the start-finish line. There was shot Eddie Gossage, the manager of this great facility, and Tony Kanaan, one very happy man, as the celebration begins, and by the way, ends with a champagne toast up in the Speedway Club that we showed you earlier. Look at that smile. And let's send it down to Jack Arute.
Well, Tony Kanaan getting the congratulations of his lovely wife. Hey, you were the fastest all night, but I want to know what you were thinking about every time you tried to slow things down. Nobody wanted to pass you, TK.
I know. I didn't want to lead, and I was asking Kim, should I lead? Should I lead? And he says, don't worry, man. You're doing a good job. And I said, come on, God. I led the whole night. You're not going to let me down now. And great team effort. I'm happy for Dario. He needed that result. And all AGR, 7-Eleven, it's their hometown. So, you know, I feel bad for Dan and Brian, but they'll catch up, and I'm very happy.
Well, not only that, now this puts you back in a solid position for the IRL IndyCar Championship as well.
That's what I'm working for right now, and the only way to win championships is winning races, so that's what we're going to do from now on.
Let me take you back to the first pit stop when on the refueling there was a momentary glitch. There was a hiccup with the vent hose. Were you aware of that in the cockpit of the car?
Yeah, I knew it, but you know, sometimes things like that happen, and the guys got it right after that. And you know, I have a great team, and you know, there's always room for mistakes, and that one didn't cost us, luckily, and I'm extremely happy. I mean, everything, tires, I mean, they last long. We were a stint and a half. So
I guess the congratulations to Danny Weldon.
Yeah, you helped. Actually, this guy made me win the race. That was a perfect move, brother.
Good job, man.
Hey, Dan, let's ask you real quick. You had to actually conserve some fuel for TK, and it didn't work out because you lost the gearbox.
No, I'm not sure what happened with my car, but TK did a good job.
Hey, TK, let me tell you one thing. Not only are you the points leader, but all of a sudden now, you have dominated Texas Motor Speedway in the Bombardier 500. You are the Hulk. You're the man.
Well, for now, I mean, in the next race, I mean, I'm hero today, I can be zero next time, so let's keep working. I mean, definitely today, I'll enjoy it today for sure.
Hey, Jerry.
And Dario Franchitti, the Andretti Green domination continues. And what a great effort today for you. From the pole, you took off and led early and looked to have one of the strongest cars all night long.
Yeah, I think we did. I was learning as the race went on. There's a couple of times I got shuffled back a bit, but that last restart, it was time to go, and we almost got past Tony. But when I realized we couldn't get by him, I just wanted to run single file, get clear of the other guys. And then if we had another chance, we could have gone for it. But it was a great result, 1-2 for Andretti Green. I think we gave Michael a heart attack when the three cars were running 1-2-3 on that restart. I think he was getting a bit nervous.
What does this do for you and this team and Kyle Moore? You ran all the way across the grass and gave Kyle Moore and all these guys a huge hug. What's it do for momentum going to Richmond?
No, well, hopefully it'll give us some momentum. You know, we've been quick all year. We just haven't had any results. So this is the first result, and hopefully we'll go from here with the RKX car.
Congratulations on a great night.
Hey, thank you.
Dario Franchitti finishes second. Paul?
Yeah, you saw Michael Andretti smiling there. Remember his cars second, third, and fourth at Indy, first and second here. And Tony Kanaan celebrated in due form.
Michael Andretti getting a few brief moments with all of the members of his team. What a great night for you.
Wow, it's huge. You know, the 7-Eleven team did an awesome job. Tony just perfect driving, and Dario in the ARCA X car, perfect. You know, just a 1-2 finish. It's 7-Eleven's hometown. You know, to win it here is it's big, and you know, to get the lead in the points for Tony, it was a big day.
Michael, the success that you have experienced since you've moved over to just a car owner, has that made it easier for you to step out of the cockpit?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a problem with it. It's been fun, really, you know, and I'm living it through these guys now, and I'm enjoying every minute of it, so it's really been fun.
Fellas, they say that Michael Andretti is Andretti Green's secret weapon.
Well, I'm going to intercept that real quick. I'm with Alex Barron, and he went from dead last 22nd all the way up to third. Alex, what a night for you. Take us through the high points.
Well, I mean, we started dead last. Obviously, we had a gearbox problem in qualifying, but we worked up. When I was patient, I needed to be, and it worked out. We had 3 awesome stops, got us good track position, and had some good restarts. So there at the end, I was able to, guys get bunched up. I was able to go on the outside and pick off a couple at a time, and there at last, I think guys were running too wide behind me, and I just followed the draft, and we turned the car up a little bit and ended the race in third, so it turned out good.
Well, Alex has got his daughter with him, and Paul?
Well, when we started, we were talking about how powerful Honda has been, and they have finished first and second, but Alex Barron there had a Chevy into third place, and Toyota with Sam Hornish sat in fourth, and Fernandez, his best finish of his career thus far, came home in fifth. We'll be right back.
Sam Hornish, a top 5 at Texas, and you drove the last 20 laps with a bent right rear in the car?
Yeah, I mean, when Manning and Rice got together right in front of me, I did everything I could not to run into the back of Buddy, and got up a little bit too high, got into marbles, and bent the rear suspension. It's just really a testament. These guys build their own suspension, and actually, I don't know, that might have saved us. They do a good job with everything they do. The Marlboro Team Penske guys got me in and out of the pits, and that's probably the only reason we got back up there.
Now you can breathe. The top 5 at Texas, and now a honeymoon in Vegas. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Guys?
So it's been run now. There'll be a little party right up at the top of the Speedway Club there for Tony Kanaan. And as we take a look at the unofficial order of finish, Jill DeFerrin, first to you. Key moment.
I think the key moment of the race was that last restart there when Tony was able to grab the lead.
And then from that point on, he was very, very fast. He had the fuel turned on to the maximum. He was actually running faster than he qualified on. His last lap was nearly 209 miles an hour faster than his qualifying speed. So he won on speed and on that restart.
And while we didn't mention him nearly as much as perhaps we should have, the Red Bull Team Cheever car of Alex Barron, boy, what a ride he gave that thing.
Well, you know, when things looked really down for him just in qualifying, when he ended up not being able to qualify because of his problem, and it was his birthday this past weekend, he probably thought, man, this is not going to be a great weekend, but persevered, actually went through the whole race, actually did a great job, kept his nose clean, and you have to say that the team itself did a great job setting up a car that can come all the way from the back and get up to the front, gives them confidence for getting on to the next event.
One thing that you can, in fact, always say about Texas is it puts on a show for you. Jill DeFerrin will take the rookie stripes off your chair. Good to have you on board.
Thank you very much, Bo and Scott. I mean, it's been great. I tell you, I was out of breath most of the race, but here we are breathing again.
It was fun watching you because you were jumping from time to time, just like you did a couple of years ago.
It has an effect on you. I think that we'll never sit back in the car once you sit up here and watch them from this height.
So Kanaan, Franchitti, Barron, the top three at Texas in the IRL IndyCar Series. And what a weekend it has been. We want you to join us in 2 weeks at Richmond International Raceway for the SunTrust Indy Challenge. That's Saturday, June 26th at 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. Coming up next, it'll be baseball tonight as we take a look at some of the great action that we've seen at Texas Motor Speedway. Congratulations to Tony Kanaan. For Jill DeFerrin, Scott Goodyear, Jamie Little, Jerry Punch, and Jack Arute, I'm Paul Page. Thanks so much for being with us this evening, and we'll see you at Richmond. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.